Hello guys, in this video we are gonna learn about else if statements. So this is where we left in our previous video. I'm just gonna comment this out and then let's start by first learning about the else if statements and then implementing what we will learn into this problem. So we have learned if and else statements, right? So let me write you an example if statement. If 1 is equals to 1, which is true, console.log true, else console.log false. So if this condition is true, we are entering this if statement. If this condition is false, we are entering this if else statement. So the reason why we use else if statement is that, so in this case, this else statement doesn't have any condition, right? By using this else if statement, we are gonna assign this else statement a condition. So think of it as in this way. If this is true, okay, enter inside this if statement and leave everything. If this if statement is false, then we are gonna have an else if statement, which will also have a condition. So if this is false, then check this else if statement. If this else if statement is false, check this else if statement. If that else if statement is false, then check this else statement, and so on. So you can write multiple else if statements. So let me first give you an example. So this is basically the syntax of else if. As you can see, I did open parentheses because it takes a condition. Let's say else if q is equal to 2. Okay, console.log inside the else if. So let's see what we are doing in here. We have an if statement, right? The condition is true, so we enter this if statement and then we leave everything behind. So what if our if condition is false? Let me make it 2. Then we enter this else if statement. So pay attention that we can open else if statements right after this if statement, right? Kind of like this else statement. As you can see, we have an if statement in here. Right after that, we have an else if statement in here. If this if statement is false, then we are gonna come here. We are gonna see else if statement. We are gonna check the condition. That condition is true, right? Therefore, we enter this else if statement. But what if this else if statement was wrong? Then we enter else statement. So by using this else if statement, we are adding extra conditions to our main if statement, but they're separate. So to illustrate, let me show you a graph. Now let's see the graph that I talk about in the video. So this is basically the graph that I wanted to show you. I made it myself, and by understanding this graph, I believe you can understand if as else and else if statements pretty much. So let's start. We have an if statement condition, right? So we have an if statement. If that if statement is true, what are we doing? We are taking this path. If that if statement is true, then we execute the command inside the if statement. Okay, so we have an if statement that's true. We execute the command and we end our code. Okay, this is one route that you might take. What is the other route? And that is that if this if statement is false, then we are taking this route. So if statement condition is false, we are taking this route. Okay, and then what we do, we check for else or else if statements. If there is nothing, we once again end our code, right? But if there is something, so let's say there is an else statement. So we are taking this path. We are assuming there's an else statement. We enter the else statements, right? And then once again we end our code. But what if there is an else if statement? And that's where the things get tricky. If there's an else if statement, we check for the condition of else if. Kind of the same as we did in this if statement condition. So we check for the condition of else if, right? If that condition is true, we enter the else if statement, we execute the commands of that statement, and then we end our code. As you can see, there is just one way of ending this graph. If this if statement is false, and if we have an else if statement, and then if that else if statement is true, we are ending our code. And what is the other route? The other route is that if the condition of else if statement is false. So now the condition of the else if statement is false. Now what are we doing? We are coming back to this square. We once again check for else or else if statement. And as you can see, there might be an infinite loop in here. So as you can see, our code might do this, this, and this, 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 and this. So basically you can make an infinite loop. And as you can see, we have 4 different ways of ending our code, and this is pretty much it. So this is basically the cheat sheet of conditional operators like if statement, else statement, and else if statements. And one more thing that I want you to pay attention is that, as you can see, we can put else or else if statement one another. So if we have else if statement, we can put another else if statement by taking this route, right? If we have an else if statement, we can put else statement right after that else if statement too by taking this route. But what we can't do is that if we have an else statement, we can't put any else if statement after it. So that's it. That's pretty much it. So if you want to take photo of this graph, let me make it a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit more bigger. Oh, so it's changing dramatically. I think this is the best that I can do. So if you want to take in a photo, please do it now. Now let's continue our code. Now I'm gonna implement what we have learned into our code in order to write the very same thing as we did in here using else if statements. So let me comment it out. I don't know why I did uncommented. So let's start. We have let a equals 10. So that's the same thing that we did in our previous video. Let's put our if statement. If 1 is equals to 1, we have parentheses. Inside here we have another if statement, so we cannot use any if else or else statements in here. So I'm just gonna type it as the same console.log 1, and we have another statement here console.log 2. Once again, I can't use any else statement in here. We have else statement in here, but what I'm gonna use is that instead of putting an else statement and inside this else statement putting an if statement, I'm gonna put else if statement in here and type a is less than 5 console.log 3, and after that I'm gonna put an else statement by saying console.log for. So these are the same. So this first half and the second half of the code is basically the same. The first one is not using an else if statement, and in the second one we are using this else if statement. As you can see, by using this else if statement, our code seems a little bit more neat, right? Instead of putting else, instead of putting if inside this else statement, we are just putting else if statement, and that's pretty much it. And that's it for this video. Please understand that graph that I did show you, and that's really important. And if you have any question, please leave a comment. And that's all for this video. Have a great day.